I was looking for some stupid reason. I was looking at this brochure recently, Pete.
Hummingbird?
This is a hummingbird, and I'm a hummingbird guy. That's my favorite fish finders, and I think they make great fish finders. I'm a big fan. But so I'm looking at their ice products. This is their 2021 Humminbird ice products, right? And I go flipping through here, and I use a little very basic Humminbird graph for my ice fishing. It's not a flasher, it's a graph, okay? And I'm looking through here, and one thing that just kind of caught me, right, is that this brochure is all about promoting their ice fishing products, their fish finders, right?
Okay.
It says right here, it says eliminate noise from nearby flashers with interference rejection, and it shows the picture here. I should have probably scanned this and put it into a...
Is it what I was seeing on my screen?
Well, it's showing a graph. It's not showing a flasher, right? It's showing a picture of a graph. It's not showing the
right,
circle
but it's saying interference from flashers.
Yeah. Eliminate noise from nearby flashers. Good point. You're absolutely right. That's true. But what perusing through this brochure, I still am annoyed by the fact that people think that they need... What am I hearing? Is that you?
This?
I don't know what I'm hearing, but I'm not going to worry about it. It might be a cat using the litter box.
I think my furnace just is turning on, so that's not going to warm you up, though.
Okay.
And by the way, I just bought an ice fish finder last week. But do you... because, by the way, my fish tracks that I took out, my little fish tracks, my AAA, it's tiny, it's fun, blah, 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 did not do well for me on that lake of yours, the old Horseshoe Lake. I couldn't mark my lure for the most part. I had an old Lowrance that I brought with, and that did a little bit better job. Might have been the water itself, I guess. Anyway, I went out and I bought myself... Actually, I bought two this week because I bought a boat that has one on it, too. I bought myself a Garmin.
Yeah. Garmin's the deal, dude.
So it's like the full... It was like a 5-inch screen. They call it like a Striker.
I know what you're talking about.
It was like $330 for the complete ice fishing setup. Came with the battery and the whole thing, you know. So I got a Striker 3 in the boat, and I got a 5 for ice fishing, but it's on back order, so I'll probably get it in like July.
Oh boy! Well, I will say, man, Garmin, it came on the fishing scene relatively recent, and they got a trolling motor out now. They're the real deal, dude. Garmin's the real deal.
So what did they do before fish fighters?
Like they were doing all kinds of like personal like fitness stuff, to track your...
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, everything. GPS units for cars.
Because they have like satellite phones for the wilderness. I've seen those. But are they an American company?
Yes.
Wow.
They're based out of Kansas City. Pretty sure it's Kansas City. Yep.
Good host.
They're really they're a top-notch company, and they're making great graphs. They're making great... That trolling motor that they have is the shit.
Well, doesn't your graph have a flasher option?
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to get into right here a little bit. And I've bitched about this before. We've talked about this before.
Right.
And this is honestly, it's a very well done brochure. The photography is great in it, but what drives me crazy is that they cater to this whole idea where, you've got this sophisticated unit here, and they're still, and you could have an awesome graph to use. Graph works just as well for ice fishing. There's no reason why you can't. It's a better representation of the water column than how a flasher looks. But still, there's a flasher right there. You could use the graph, but no, I'm going to stick with that.
It's like ingrained in the DNA around here, because when that first hit the market, people are like, I can't believe it, and they can't get over it.
They can't, and I will say this is going to be very controversial here, okay?
Do it. Just do it. This is what the cover shot. This is what this is going to look like on the top of the video right now.
So Vexilar has been promoting this idea, I think, that, that a flasher is going to give you real-time display of your lure down there. And they've harped on it. There's a ton of marketing. It's like ice fishing is Vexilar. You have to have a flasher, and a Vexilar is the flasher. You know what I mean? The reality is a flasher is old technology. It is one of the very first fish finders, and there's no reason for anybody to be using a flasher anymore. To say that it doesn't give you a real-time view of what your lure is doing. I've said this before on podcasts. I used to live in Missouri. Down there, there's incredible anglers that know how to fish deep water, deep, clear water, vertical jigging, all times of the year, right? They're using graphs. They're not using a flasher, and they can see the bait go down. You have a history. To the left of the screen, you get to see the history, and you see your bait streaming down. You can see when a fish comes up. Everything's real time. You don't need a flasher. I've had times when I've ice fished where the fact that you have history behind you, it's actually saved me, because I've actually dropped a lure down, right? And I've seen, like, I was looking away or something, and then I look back at the graph, and I've actually seen a fish. I've done this. I've seen this in 30 feet of water before. I've seen fish that were hanging out just under the ice going down to the lure. And you can see that when you have, sometimes they'll like bail out and they'll go back up. If you had a flasher, you wouldn't see that, you don't have that history with the graph. You see that
right.
Maybe there's and so does that make sense?
Yeah, if you're not paying attention a second, you can go back to it
and so you can see, oh, wait, a fish just came down,
Yeah.
And then a flasher, it blips and it's out. And then you might have, if you're looking somewhere else, you might not have seen it, that you had a clue there, what was going on. So it's like enough. I feel like this way with like gas augers, I feel it even more strongly with flashers. It's like they need to be gone the way of the dodo bird, dude.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
it's a weird thing. Or like even limiting yourself to just a flasher seems like, at least with the graph you can use that in the boat, and put it to good work. But now everything seems to be switching into real-time mode, so now we're all waiting until those real-time graphs are going to be coming down at a reasonable price range, but I think it's a ways out yet. Yeah,
no doubt. I mean, you've had experience with. I mean, I've seen those, in fishing tournaments being used, and you've seen it in ice fishing, which I haven't seen, and it's like
crazy.
Yeah, that's where it's going.
You're watching your lures bounce up and down, and I would see these lake trout swim through at 1,000,000 miles an hour. You can see like what they're up to, like they blast through the cone. And then they'll come back around and come through a little bit slower, and you can see what they're up to. It's a kind of a cool way to. It's hard to do that and then go back to your old graph, but that's good to know that you like Garmin, because I just thought, well, what the heck? I'm going to give it a shot. Lowrance let me down big time with the unit one time, and they were not helpful with getting it back together. And then I ordered an ice fishing unit for that Lowrance because the GPS died, and it took 15 months. Meaning I ordered it in November. I didn't get to use it that ice fishing season or the following ice fishing season. Lowrance.
Yeah, I hear you, dude.
I understand you're in Oklahoma, but you don't understand I'm still mad at Lowrance about that. So I'm like, well, and I've got a hummingbird, a nice one in the boat, and I love it. But I'm like, well, let's give Garmin a go. Why not? So
yeah, Garmin's the deal. I think you're going to be very happy with them. They're the real deal. And that's the thing about, I think Lowrance makes a great unit. But when they do something like that, when a company does something like that, it's like you've really for at least for me, it's very hard for me to go back.
It's hard to go back. And I talked with people 8 or 10 times over the course of all this. I gave up all summer And then I would call, like I called a couple of times, like, oh yeah, we're just waiting for some parts. Should be 4 weeks. Should be another 4 weeks. Let it go for 6 months because I couldn't ice fish anyway. Started pushing it in October. Oh yeah, we're looking at it should be any day now. And they, screw me over 2 ice fishing seasons, and I just quit calling because I'm just like, it doesn't matter anymore, guys. I hate you. I bought a different unit, so I'm giving up on you right now.
Yeah, I'm really particular with companies, dude. I'm like, if you're not, it's
unforgivable.
It is that, and your experience there with that kind of made me move from.
I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, with that unit visiting you. And I asked them, I'm like, can you guys just take a look at this? Because I just happened to be here and see what's going on. There was like, nobody was giving me any help at all. Like, I'm literally 10 minutes away from you, and I still couldn't get help from them, It was a maddening thing. And by the way, the other side of that coin is Johnson Fishing, which is based in Mankato, Humminbird. Anytime I've ever needed anything for a finder or a trolling motor or advice or a part, they're unbelievably helpful at the warehouse. They don't even have like a retail place there, but they have like a front office with a secretary, and she'd be like, oh yeah, let me call Dave. He knows how to answer this one. And it's happened to me 3 times. They find the right guy, they get you the right answer, and they just take care of business every single time,
Yeah, that to me is the deal, dude. And I love Johnson Fishing. I love Minn Kota. I mean, there's part of it I'm sure is, it's Minnesota pride. I'm sure that plays a role in it. But Johnson Fishing is Minn Kota, and it's Humminbird.
Right.
And then they're integrated with their trolling motors. Humminbirds with Minn Kota. And a lot of that. It's pretty hard to beat those two. Like Minn Kota, I beat the crap out of my Minn Kota trolling motor, and it takes it, dude.
In college, we used to go up there and temp work at Johnson Fishing. Like, they grab a couple hundred college kids on the weekends. I don't know if they do this anymore. Yeah. And then you just be like putting parts together, which seems like a terrible plan for creating quality trolling motors.
Well, if it was you, get people like you doing it,
right?
Assembly,
but it was mostly just a bunch of hungover frat boys. Was like their main clientele, and they pay us like $5 an hour or something. But it's just crazy to think that's how they did it. So Johnson Fishing came from Johnson Motors. So was that company? I don't even know that for sure.
No.
That's a separate company.
Separate. Oh. In fact, Johnson Everett, I guess they're just.
Oh, right.
So Johnson Silver Minnow.
Yeah,
that's the Johnson.
Oh wow!
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, you are an encyclopedia.
Yeah. Johnson Silver Minnow. It's Johnson. That Johnson.
But I'm with you on that one. I'm a graph guy, and I got the flasher option on there if I want it. I don't need a Vexilar flasher. A digital screen is fine with a flasher on it if I want to go that route, which I've used to great success, especially in walleye fishing. But I'm with you.
Has Vexilar even tried to come up with a graph?
They're just sticking with it. They're just going
to brainwash people into still this is the way you ice fish.
Yeah, they're like, we know they've invented staplers, but we're sticking with paper clips. We don't care. We're doing it our way.
Thanks for tuning into the podcast. If you've enjoyed our content, please consider subscribing to Another Fishing Podcast on iTunes, which is available also on just about every major podcasting platform. We'd love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Angling Uploaded. And for exclusive benefits, become a member on Patreon. So go to patreon.com and search Angling Uploaded, become a member. Oh God, we'd love you if you do that. Thanks, guys.